Hey guys, this time I'm back doing a review of the new Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 game. Now this one is great, I gotta say. I had a lot of fun playing this one and making this review. So this game really gets back to kind of those older, early 2000s campaign-based shooters, FPS games. And this game also includes the co-op ability, which right off the bat there, I love to see it. I got some great fun times in with my brother, and we really enjoyed playing this game together. So I gotta say, just right off the bat, if you just want a quick rundown, it's a great game. Now, getting into this review, we're going to look at a couple different topics for it. So the graphics in this game are really good. This game is really CPU heavy, I'll say, more than a lot of other games in this genre, and the reason for that is going to be some of these large-scale battle scenes. But that really contributes to immersing into this game setting, where you're a super soldier contributing in a large war. So a lot of those AIs are going to be rendered to be these epic fights in the background, and it definitely contributes, but it will take a hit on your computer if you're playing on some of these higher settings. So right off the bat, that's great. Love to see it. The art style in this game is really interesting too. It's basically a blend between Doom and Gears of War. I say Doom more so for the, let's say, style of the game. It's got a lot of skull and gothic going around in the backgrounds, but it looks great, very fun. Nothing stands out as being like a low quality. There's a decent variety of enemies, although I would love to see more variety of enemies in the future. I really think that they're going to make another game into the series, even though this is the second one. The previous game, Space Marine Warhammer 40k 1, was released, I believe, in 2011. So it's been quite a while since the last one. So with the reboot of this franchise, I could definitely see them making more into the series, because within the first couple of weeks of it being released, they had over 4.5 million units sold. So they're in the hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. So I could definitely see them making more into the series. And I'm looking forward to the next iteration too. Well, that's something I'd love to see, is more enemies in there. But they definitely have a lot of enemies, as in the quantity that you're fighting. This is really like a horde-based shooter, I would say. So there's two main types of enemies, really. You're going to have like your hordes that'll attack you, that you'll just mow down with like a single shot, or even kill multiple in a single shot. And then you have enemies that you'll fight on more one-on-one, and then you get those epic finishers with them. And then you also have your bosses, and there's not too many throughout the game, but there's a couple of bosses and mini-bosses, I'll say, throughout. But yeah, it's really fun. I mean, you just get into it. It's one of those old-style shooters. There's no cover ability. It's really just mowing down hordes. The setting is awesome. You'll see a bunch of different Marines throughout, and they all salute you in honor and reverence, which really contributes to the setting and makes you feel like a super soldier. So that's pretty awesome. Get some of these cool finishers throughout all these different enemies, and that replenishes your armor. So it's definitely a necessary gameplay component. And the story is also really quite interesting, but it's not convoluted to the point where you're not going to understand it. And it also is easily digestible for someone who's not fully engaged with the Warhammer 40k universe. I'll say I am not that knowledgeable about it. I had heard of it before and kind of looked into it previously, but not to a great extent by any means. And this is one of those franchises that has had like 30 or 40 years of lore built up on it since like the 80s or so. And so it really has a huge amount of lore and content that they can choose from to make a game from. And from my understanding, this game is pretty let's say, lore conducive, as in it follows the lore that's in the past, and it doesn't really anger a lot of those old school fans. So I think that the story is good in that the sense that if you're a new fan, you can enjoy it, and if you're an old fan, you can enjoy it as well. But yeah, like I said, this story is not so complicated that you're going to be scratching your head confused about what's going on, and it's not so simple that it's boring. It takes place over, I believe, 3 or 4 different planets and a variety of settings on those. And you really get to enjoy the story as you play through it. It changes. There's some twists and turns here. And it doesn't require too much understanding of the previous game's events. There are a couple throwbacks to people who were fans of the past games, but it's pretty much its own unique setting as far as that goes. So I really think anyone can just hop in and enjoy that. And you can see that from, like I said, those 4.5 million purchases. A lot of people really liked it. And I think that a big reason is that there haven't been many co-op campaign-based shooters lately. You know, we're seeing a lot of these like open world games, a lot of those types of styles, a lot of MMOs, things like that. But we haven't just had a simple campaign shooter in a while. And I think a lot of people wanted it, and this really hit that soft spot for a lot of people. A lot of people wanted it, and this game delivered. It's just a fun action shooter. And at $60, I think if that's what you're looking for, then this is a great game to just hop in, especially if you get some friends in. I mean, the campaign is about 10 hours or so. I'd say you can do it in a little less or a little longer, depending on how you play it, but roughly 10 hours. Of course, you could probably speedrun it in a significant fraction of that time, but ignoring that, we're going to say benchmark 10 hours. So it's not super long, but it definitely feels like a good size. It conveys what it wants to, and there are some pretty epic moments throughout. And these cutscenes really contribute to that. There are some great cutscenes that add a lot to the game. The characters feel really realistic and good. They're well written. It's not like Starfield where it's just garbage and I hate them all. So it's definitely fun getting to know the characters. And then once you complete the campaign missions, there's the operations and the online multiplayer. So the operations are basically the side missions for squads other than the main squad that are going to be taking place during the campaign missions. So if you're the Alpha team, you know, Bravo team's going to be running a side mission that contributes to the overall campaign. In the operations, you get to play as Bravo team. So it really fleshes out some of the other characters and adds a different level of challenge. It also adds a lot more gameplay content. And there's about, I believe, 8 or 9 of these. And from the ones that I've played, they're about an hour long. So there's definitely a decent amount of content just from the operations alone. And you get to customize your Space Marine with that. And yeah, it's pretty cool. Definitely a fun concept. And I like that it adds a lot more content to the game if that's what you want. And then you have the multiplayer. That's great. This game, in my opinion, is not really a multiplayer-focused game at all. It's mostly about the campaign and the story and everything like that. But it's cool that they have it. I'm sure some people will love it. Not exactly my cup of tea, but not bad by any means. I have heard some people having issues with server ping rates, but I haven't really experienced anything with that, so take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, the combat mechanics, they're simple, but they're fun, easy to digest. There's nothing really too complicated about it. I mean, it's just a fun game, you know? There's not a ton else I have to say. I recommend this game for sure if you want to just get into an action FPS shooter, especially if you're a fan of the Warhammer franchise. You're gonna love this game. And I think a lot of people that aren't familiar with it are gonna love it too. So yeah, I'm giving this game an 8 out of 10 right off the bat. I mean, it's just a really fun game, and there's nothing else I really need to say about it. Just get out there and enjoy it if you want to try it, you know? Anyway, yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Bye.